Good morning, everyone. It's time for another episode of Hey, let's watch Frederick fail to answer a Stack Overflow question. But I suppose if I keep on going, finally, I'll solve one of these. Okay, so let's look at this question here. Passing array value from one class to another. I'm new to React.js, and the issue that I am having is that the array value is not being displayed on the body. So let's look at this code here. Okay, I can immediately see that there seems to be a little bit of misunderstanding around the map function. And what else? This looks correct. And react.render app document get element by ID div. Okay, so I think I know what's going on here. Let's have a look. So here I put my the original code, so we have a reference of some sort. And over here we're putting a webpack config so that we can just like set up a bundling and like do the Babel conversion and all that good stuff. There's probably an easier way to do this because like it's really tedious to have to if there's one thing that's really bad with the React environment, which is why I usually say that, you know, if you're a complete beginner, just start with vanilla JavaScript or Vue or something if you're just learning. But if you really want to do React, which is I highly recommend you should, this is like let's see, yeah, this is my command. This is everything I needed to download in order to do this. So it's like React Webpack, Babel Core, Babel Loader, React DOM, Babel Preset React, in essence. Anywho, so we have our config, so the transpilation is going to happen, and here's our test file. So we have a script which loads our JavaScript, and this is the thing that I saw that, okay, so I put a element that we're going to bootstrap our application to in place, and this is what I was talking about. So let's start by having a look at this. So document.getElement by ID div. That's not correct because div is not the ID. In my scenario, it's content. Had you done something like this and div, that would have worked, but that's really dangerous because then it's going to grab the first div on the entire page. So usually this is just a really small mistake. Put an ID of some sort and put a div element as the element, and you're good. Now you can also see that if I run this now, I'm lacking React. So let's get React, and we need React DOM. React DOM, there we are. So if I now do Webpack, and I try to run this, or at least, yep, it bundles it correctly. Let's go to the document, and we see a lot of errors. Okay, so what's wrong now? App.render a valid React element or null must be returned. Let's see. Here is the problem. So there's a return statement that doesn't return anything, which is going to be undefined. And then there's another element under here. So if we remove that and do something like div, or let's make that an h1. Hello world h1. There we are. And we bundle that again. Yep, and we refresh, and there we are. So now we have part of the problem solved. Let's look at what's happening next. So as I understood it, our question asker here, or the person we're trying to help out, wanted to figure out why he can't pass props from one class to another. Now, if I'm looking at this thing here, I don't see anything wrong with this code here. So class append extends React component, looks all good. There has a render function, and then it does this.props.val. This is fine. This is the way I think it should look. But the problem is over here. So what he's trying to achieve here is that he wants to put this array here and convert his array of 2 strings over to this DOM structure here. So there are a few things here that's going on. So, and I'm thinking that we'll just walk through them. So first and foremost, let's pull out the array and put that in a unordered list. And we do that because let's do this. Let's do that. So let's bundle that and let's see if it works. There we have something. 1, 2, which is great. Though I just because I can't help myself, I think I have to change this to a list item, because a list, you know, it's gonna be a li element. Anywho, we saw some errors. So each child in an array or iterator should have a unique key prop. Now this is an interesting topic. So the way that React works when it comes to list, and that has to do with the differing algorithm that's being used to re-render or determine when we want to re-render the page or a specific element in the DOM structure, or the and it's not the shadow DOM, but basically the DOM structure that React has. So in order for it to effectively do that, when you're creating a dynamic list like this, you need to give it a key attribute. So in this scenario, I highly suggest that we simply use the actual element, because this is a unique array. You wouldn't do this if you had a list of things that may be the same thing. So if we had another 1 in here, this would break, but since we only have 2 elements, let's keep it like that. Now, the reason why this key is important is because it's not going to break your code, it's just going to warn React, because it can't optimize this algorithm and the diffing for this list if it doesn't have a unique key. And that, I can go into that further if you want to, but I think that this is good enough for now. So here we are, and let's Webpack bundle that again. There. And now we have a list of 2 elements. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, sorry. Yes, this is correct. So we open that, and inside of here we have the React root and 2 list elements, which is great. So that answers his question around, and I think this is good enough for the purposes of showing how to do the thing that he's asking. But I want to just touch on something that I think is fairly important, and this is a little bit more advanced, but I just bear with me. So this is a very, most of the stuff that you're going to see in the tutorials that React has is that you see people do class app extends React component, which is it's perfectly fine. What I want to tell you though is that Facebook and highly recommends you to have a look at your requirements for creating a component, because we're talking a little bit about performance and stuff like that, and there is a more performant way to write this actually. So if I do, let's see if I can do this without completely messing it up. I do const app is equal to, it doesn't even have to be like that. I do this. There we are. So I create a pure function, and then I remove this stuff here, and then we create a const called append, which is a function, and it takes in some props, Let's grab that there. I think we can remove this now. And we change that from this.props to props.val. Let's see if this works. Yes, and it works flawlessly. So what's happening here is that I'm using a pure function to render the JSX into the stuff that's going to go on the page. And the reason why you want to do this instead is because you're not using any of the life cycle events on the page, or rather in React. And this is important to know because this here is React is much better at handling these functions than it is at handling the components that we had earlier. So try, the rule of thumb here is if you're not using a special, I'll show you in just a minute which functions I'm talking about, but if you don't only have a render or something like that, just do this. And even if you wanted to do something like, let's say I wanted to say on click, let's add an on click here. Some people will also, like, they will do something like they will add like more functions on their component and do this dot on click, for example. Don't do this either. I highly recommend that you don't do this. Just try this instead. Let's say foo. You just give it a parameter of foo, and then do this. Const foo is equal to a function that when klog, when you click it, it does this thing here. Now let's see if I can bundle this. And go back. Oh, refresh the page. And as you can see here down in my console, it's saying foo now. Now the reason why I recommend you doing this is because this lets you still maintain these pure functions that are more performant for React, and it gives you the same results, because what you really want to express here that I have a function that I simply want to run whenever I click something, and because the Webpack bundler bundles everything, yeah, this is all safe. You can put a global variable like this and call it foo and still have several other functions that are called foo elsewhere in the code, and it's still gonna work. So try to use scoping to your advantage here. Finally, I promised you to talk a little bit about the lifecycle events. So let's go back to what we had previously. Here we are. So as I said, try to use pure functions, but if you for any reason want to do something like component did mount like this, and then do I have mounted, now that is a different ball game altogether. Oh, sorry. There we are. Webpack, and then we bundle it again. And as you can see, it's saying I have mounted. So that's the rule of thumb. If you need one of these lifecycle events, then you make a component. Otherwise, try to make a pure function because it's more performant. So for the intensive purposes of this little video here, I will keep it like this because it's it's closer to the person who asked the question. This is much closer to what he was looking for. So I'm going to copy paste this as a reply to him or her, and hopefully it's going to help them out. And thank you so much for watching.